Yes, before we get started, I just had the Chopin hand out a pamphlet on the DYP, Deepen Your Practice program, which has become a very powerful teaching tool that serves to focus your attention into all the central themes of study here in Hard Light, all of the dynamics of the overall curriculum are focused into 1, 2, and 3 month sessions, wherein discussion about the Guru, as if we are talking about today. We just completed a 3-month discussion of the Kundalini, going into the next 3 months of Soham, and then, which will be, but there's the dynamics of all of the information about the 4 bodies, the mind-heart union, meditation, Shaktipat Samadhi, are covered in groups of 1, 2, and 3 month sessions. And the way it is covered is that as we go through the arc of the year, you'll see that we'll talk about a subject for 4 weeks. Like we'll talk about the 4 levels of attention, different 4 stages of cognition. We actually aligned the last 6 weeks of study of the Kundalini with 3 months of study of the Kundalini and the DYP. The dynamic of Guru and Guru Shakti and Guru Yoga. We have the 3 levels of study here in Hard Light, which is to say we have the weekly sessions, meeting every Thursday for 2 to 3 hours. We have the intensives, which happen 1 to 2 times a month. We just came through a phase where we had 2 intensives last month. So it kind of averages out to 1.5 intensives a month. We're 3 weeks away from the summer retreat. The daily intensives tend to be thematic. I will use one of the basic themes of the curriculum as a basis of study for the intensive and use it as a launching pad, as well as going through the dynamic of explanation, and then demonstration, giving you the opportunity to experience it as we meditate together. Oftentimes they're accompanied with very complex talks, lots of detailed information, and I'm essentially knocking you into a trance state and then giving you detailed information, and a lot of it kind of goes in one chakra and out the other. You hear it, you pick it up, and you experience it, but it kind of slips through the gaps. And so what I found is the idea of the DYP, the Deepen Your Practice, is this very powerful tool wherein your attention is focused in on the subject matter with basically a representation of various lectures and talks. It comes in both a recorded form of the talk, also a transcribed edition of the talk. It's, for me personally, reading words off of a page is one of the strongest ways for information to transfer into my mind. I've read all my life, and I can get into that space where I can absorb a lot of information just reading. You can get the transcription digitally, just sent over your computer. You can get hard copy, and you can also get the CD that you can play while you're driving in your car or while you're working. You can have a talk going. And I really recommend that everybody use this, because it will really anchor and ground you in the curriculum and in the vernacular of speech in terms of just how language is used, how I use language, and the relationship of language to experience. It'll also serve as a mnemonic device, because you'll have sat through the meditation, and I've had 20 people, if there was one, that have taken the DYP and they come up and they read the transcription of the talk, or they hear it and said, "When did you say that? I can't believe you said that. I don't remember hearing any of that." Quite literally. It's like, I've always wanted you to talk about that. And I've talked about it about 25, 30 times. It's one of those little sufferings of the spiritual teacher. And the structure of the Deepen Your Practice, it has really served to bring those two levels of attention together. Because when you do go into a trance state, you are going into a supraconscious state. And that is more of a right brain activity. We oftentimes, words, the processing of words, either on a printed page or listening to a talk, is a left brain activity. It's linguistically centered, but there's a lot of important meaning that can be derived in that way. And it is, in a certain way, most of us kind of start on left brain, and the spiritual process starts to open up the right brain, dealing with these incredible subjects of samadhi and emptiness, which are really beyond the use of words, but they can be used like arrows that point to a meaning beyond themselves, which is one of the skills you have to acquire when you hang out around a spiritual teacher, because there is a very advanced use of language. There is the description and the demonstration that is oftentimes going on simultaneously. While we're talking about a given subject, I'm actually expressing it spiritually. At the same time, there is what is called a spiritual language, where I'm speaking to you in the language of the Spirit. And at the same time, I'm talking, using verbal cognition, linguistics, left brain, linguistic-centered meaning. And to get the hang of conversation around a spiritual teacher, you have to become conversant in all of those levels of attention and learn to blend them. I remember when I first started studying with Baba Muktananda, he would be like a rocket ship internally, and every one of his talks was like some incredible yogic dissertation. And there would be times where the words would just be landing on my head, and it quite literally sounded like Swahili. I couldn't get the meaning of it. I would have the experience, and that was because I realized eventually that my right brain and left brain were being activated in two different ways at the same time. If you remember, a couple of years ago, I did a sculpture called Left Brain, Right Brain that addresses that, trying to make that point. I've actually gone on to work along that line in my artwork, because I find it such a rich area of expression. But here in the meditation hall, you have to understand that the left brain and the right brain have their own languages. They have their own centers. Your right brain and your left brain have their own centers of karma. The left brain side of your body and the right side of your body are in two different universes. Just because they seem to be attached to this one physical body produces a very unusual illusion that you're threading along some line of meaning, and you're actually being bombarded by countless levels of attention, functioning along multiple levels of cognition, and you're quite literally living multiple lifetimes out by the second. When the phenomenon of awakening starts to dawn on you and you start to see what is really going on, you quite literally won't believe it. You'll remember I said this. I mean, it goes so far. There are sometimes I am talking directly to an incarnation that you're planning to have in the 23rd century, because I want that incarnation and this incarnation to get together in compressed time. That happens all the time. That's why you never know what I'm talking about. Eventually you got to get them all in one place. And this deepen your practice is a really good beginning. It will really start to get your left brain and your right brain in the same place. It has become a very powerful instrument, and I recommend it to all of you. Swaha.